I bet you did not know these things about me. Hi, guys. My name is Lindsay, and I am with Perfectly Pastry. Who is Perfectly Pastry? We are a local bakery in Waterloo, Illinois. How are you doing today? Today, I thought we would talk a little bit about 3 things that most people don't actually know about me when they meet me. And I figured since you see my videos all the time, maybe you would like to know a little bit about Lindsay. Right? The behind the Lindsay. Does that sound weird? Right? But first, let's go ahead and get some of the housekeeping out of the way. Just so you guys know, Valentine's Day is next week. We are still taking pre-orders for our strawberries. Thursday is the last day that we will take a pre-order for strawberries. After that, they are first come, first serve. We will have them in the shop this weekend, and we will have them in the shop on Tuesday. The 14th, Tuesday the 14th. Don't forget that there is an Explore Waterloo event this weekend. It is on Saturday. It is the Chocolate Lovers Rendezvous, and we are participating, and we will have some amazing treats for you guys that day. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about 3 things that you probably did not know about me. So if you've watched any of my lives before, you've heard me say that I have a master's degree, and no, it is not in marketing. No, it is not in business. Nope, it is not in baking either, right? I own a bakery, and yet I do not have a degree that has to do with business, marketing, or baking. I have a degree in clinical research administration. I always wanted to do research when I was younger. I've talked about that before. Super analytical, love research. Owning my own business has given me the opportunity to pursue research and experiments. I use my business as an ongoing experiment. I test theories, I compare data. Like, it is a nerd's dream. I always thought I was going into science, and come to find out I'm going into business. There is a science behind business. I will say 100% I believe that. But that's not even the you didn't know about me part. All right, so you know that I have a master's degree. And you may not know this, but I actually had I think it was like a 3.8 something when I graduated with my associates. I had a 3.8 something when I graduated with my bachelor's, and then I had a 3.6 something when I graduated with my master's. Most people don't know that I almost didn't graduate high school. Yeah, I almost did not graduate high school. It's actually a really super personal story, but I'll tell it to you. So my junior year of high school, I was actually supposed to graduate early. I only had to take I think it was American history or American Constitution in the state of Missouri. I could pay for it over the summer at a college, get the class, and graduate as a junior. I actually dropped out of high school, my junior year of high school. At the end of my junior year, I had a friend commit suicide, and it literally traumatized me. It is like one of the most traumatizing things in my life so far. There have been a couple of other ones, but it definitely altered who I was because I was so young, and it definitely had a massive effect on me. I could not function, and I struggled significantly, and so I left school. I moved out of my house. I moved out of my parents' house. I struggled. And then I found out that yes, you can move out of your house when you're 17, fine, but you can't do anything. And I knew that I needed to graduate high school because I knew if I didn't, then I wouldn't be able to get a good job. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I wanted to. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go back to high school. I went to go enroll in high school, and they're like, sorry, you're under the age of 18. You have to have a parent to enroll you, or you have to wait till you're 18. And I was like, what? No, I'm supposed to be a senior this year. I mean, I know I could have graduated, but I'm supposed to be a senior, and I really want to go to school. So moved back in, and I went to school, and I did graduate. I did end up graduating, but yes, I did drop out of high school at the end of my junior year, and then went back. Thank goodness I had been very academically driven up to that point. And so I had a ton of credits and a ton of I had all my math, all my English, all my science, everything I needed was done, obviously, if I was going to be able to graduate, right? So my senior year, I had a lot of I had AB days, and so my A day I went in at noon and then got out at 2, and then my B days I got out at noon. I think I went in at 7 and I got out at noon. And I had just blow off classes. Probably wasn't the wisest. I probably should have saved some of the harder classes for the end of my school year, but thankfully I had most of the credits out of the way so that I could go back and finish. But I did. I graduated from high school, and I did not go to college right away. I did not go to college right away. I couldn't afford it. I didn't have scholarships and I could not afford it. So I started with taking like one class at a time. And then eventually I was in a place that I could get the loans to be able to go to school. So I did not go back to college until I think I was like 21 when I went to college. And then I finished it. I finished my associates with my eldest. I finished my bachelor's with my middle, and then I had already finished my master's by the time my third was born. But yeah, so then I had all three kids while I was going to school too. Next thing that most people don't know about me, and I have talked about this on my live. I've told you guys before, like I use Amanda Francis as somebody to help me work through my anxiety. Some of her teachings that she has, like that she talks about, has allowed me to like remap the way that I think about things so I don't go into such panic anymore. But I do have pretty severe anxiety. But like illogical anxiety. So one of the things about me is like I am petrified that a loved one is going to get hurt in an accident. And so if somebody doesn't if they're taking too long and I'm not sure what they're doing, like I'm going to start blowing up their phone and being like, are you okay? I haven't heard from you. Like, why aren't you answering me? Which seems pretty crazy. I know I cannot help it. Like I cannot help myself. Part of me goes, you're being illogical. Like that is not what's happening. The other part of me is like, you don't know, it could be something major. To the point that my husband actually turns on his locator on his phone. And I don't check it very often, but for example, my husband flew out of town last night. And by the way, my husband was almost in a plane crash. I know that sounds really weird, almost in a plane crash. My husband and them were on a plane going from Missouri to Florida like 6-7 years ago. I guess as old as Sloan, it was May 23rd, 2016, because that was when Sloan was born. And there something like popped and they lost pressure in the cabin and everybody on the plane passed out. It was him, two of his bosses, and the pilot. Everybody passed out. They dropped out of the sky several thousand feet. The pilot had taken it out of autopilot right before he passed out. So they nosedived and then they all came through, like they all came back and he was able to like get the plane under control and everything like that. Yes, I got a call at midnight, like, hey, I'm fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. I'm coming home. And then he like tells me what was happening. And I was like, like I had a brand new baby. So like I was really incoherent. So I didn't panic then, but whenever he flies with his boss now, because they fly on like his boss is a pilot, I get anxious. And so he always texts me when he leaves. He always texts me when he lands. And he didn't text me last night. He said he did, but it didn't go through. It must've been like as he was landing or whatever. So I panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't gotten the I've landed I landed text and I knew he was busy. He was in Orlando for a convention. And so I knew he was busy. And I was like, I cannot blow up his phone. Like that would be crazy. Like don't blow up his phone. So thank goodness he has his locator on because I was able to look and see that he was in Orlando. Everything was fine. And I didn't have to panic. I had a buddy once like randomly accidentally text me and I was convinced that he got in an accident and flipped his car. And that was his last words to me. And I like started blowing up his phone. He was like, dude, I'm fine. Like, calm down. One time he didn't text me. He lives on his own. He has some medical issues. And so like, I panic if he doesn't answer me. And I've like called my cousins and stuff to go over and check on him because he wasn't answering and he had been sick and I was just panicked about him. So yes, I have some pretty bad anxiety that I have to work through. And I have to remind myself, like, you're being irrational. Like, that's not rational. Like, what could be more true than that irrational thought? And I have to like take myself through this process. But yes, I have some crazy irrational anxiety sometimes. It helps that like I work out now. So when I'm feeling really super anxious in my body, like I might go to the gym or something like that to just like burn off some of that anxiety. But sometimes it still gets the best of me. I'm not gonna lie, it can be super, super out there sometimes about what I'm panicking about. Sometimes like a headache may make me think I'm going to have a brain aneurysm. And then I'm like panicking and I start getting like a blood pressure cuff out and I will look at my watch to make sure my heart is beating correctly. Like it can be a lot sometimes, but I've been working really hard on it. And I acknowledge it. Like I recognize that it happens. I recognize now when it's happening. I recognize when it's about to happen. I try to be active and like work through that nowadays, but it helps that my husband has turned on his locator so that I don't have to blow up his phone and I don't have to panic. My kid has a locator on so that if I can't get a hold of her, I can see. It also helps like when my kid is out and about and I'm like what is taking so long? So she goes with this one friend a lot, and the parents, like she goes with the parents because they can't drive yet. And usually they get home and it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and they drop my daughter off at the house. And whenever she goes with her, like, I don't want to be blowing up my kid's phone. Like, where are you? What's taking so long? Why hasn't the parent brought you home yet? Like, I wanted you to be home earlier. I'm staying up late with you. Okay, all those things are what I'm thinking, but I'm not going to say that because my daughter cannot control what another parent is doing. I get that, right? So instead, I can check her location. I can see that they're still wherever they're supposed to be. I can see that they've traveled back. If I see that they stopped, a lot of times they will stop to eat, or I can see them like dropping off her cousins because I know where her cousins live, and I can see that they are dropping off the cousin, and I know that they'll be coming home soon. So yes, I do have a locator on my kiddo as well, and it just prevents me from like blowing up her phone, being like, "Where are you?" Because she should have the trust. I should be able to trust and give her her space, right? She is a teenager. She needs to be building that independence. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that kids should run wild at all, but I still want her to have the ability to be independent and learn and grow and become an independent person. So I have to learn to rein that in, right? So the first thing that you didn't know about me is I almost didn't graduate from high school. The second thing, I have some crazy anxiety. The third thing, okay, I live in Naples, Florida. I married somebody who is from the Chicagoland area. Most people, when they meet me, would never guess this, but I grew up in Texas, and growing up in Texas means that I lived on a farm when I was a kid, right? Okay, cool. No, I actually showed cattle when I was younger. I showed cattle, and I was gonna do this video on like what it was like for me, like showing cattle, because like I have fond memories of showing cattle. Now, don't get me wrong, I was very disgruntled getting up at 5 a.m. and feeding, and after school having to do my homework and immediately go work with my cows after school, and all the commitment that went with it, right? I was a kid, but I have a lot of fond memories of it. But most people don't know that. I showed cattle from 3rd grade until I was in high school. My first steer I ever showed, his name was Bonzo. The last steer I ever showed, his name was Bubba. I think I won I don't think I won at all the first year I showed with Bonzo, but I did win showmanship. So the judge was like, oh my gosh, she just has a smile on her face. She's working really hard. She may not have won first place in her division, but by golly, she is like an amazing kid, and look at her enjoying this. And then my last steer. My last year, I actually got Grand Champion Reserve. So it was the first and only time I won Grand Champion Reserve. I won't bore you with all the details. Actually, it's because I'm saving it for another video. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to know, this is really interesting and really weird, definitely I'll create a video and I'll tell you about every single one of them. They all had different personalities. I can tell you about some of my high moments, some of my low moments. Like, I have a lot of stories about it, but yes, I showed cattle. You put them on a halter, you walk them around an arena, you do what's called setting them up, where you like take that stick and you rub their belly and you move their feet. And I did presentations to high school students when I was in elementary school and middle school on like how to set up your cow, how to get them to like regroup, how to get the judge's attention when you're in arena. Like, I learned a lot of things. And I did a lot of demonstrations, and I had one cow that was like my pet dog. Like, really, like, she licks me all the time. I remember like we would stand like in the judging, and I would be holding, because you have to hold their necks up, and she would be like licking me on my cheek, licking me on my hair, licking me on my arm. Her name was Pooh. She was my baby. But yes, I actually showed cattle, and if you met me now, you'd be like, there is absolutely no way that you showed cattle. Yes, I'm not a city girl, The city, like, I don't want to live in the city. I don't like the hustle bustle. I don't like traffic. I don't like crowds of people. Like, I'm not a city person. I am definitely not a country person. I don't want to live on a farm. I don't want to live in a remote area. I need Wi-Fi. I need food and restaurants. I need convenience. So if you met me, you'd be like, there's no way that you showed for several years. And yes, I did. I did do that for several years. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It's so funny because like I tell my kids about that part of my life, and they're like, what does that even mean? And then like if we go to like the county fairs and stuff, and like they'll go to the animal barns, and I'll be like, this is what I did. Like, that used to be me when I was a kid. And they're like, what? That's so bizarre. And like, it is, it's true. But yes, so I thought, hey, why don't you get to know a little bit about me? I'm going to be an open heart and tell you guys some things that most people, and now I guess the entire world knows, most people don't know about me. Like, honestly, when you meet me, it's not like I'm like, hey, my name is Lindsay. I have severe anxiety. I used to show kettle and I almost didn't graduate from high school. Yeah, that's not really how I introduce myself. But I thought if you guys watch these videos and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'd really like to get to know you a little bit, here are some random facts about me. Yeah. All right, you guys, I am going to hop off of here. If you happen to be watching this on Facebook, you should be liking and following us on Facebook. If you're watching this video on another platform, don't worry, come find us on social media. We are on Facebook at Perfectly Pastry Bakery. All the other social media, we are at Perfectly Pastry. Facebook is the only one that we are at Perfectly Pastry Bakery. All right, you guys, I'm going to hop off of here. If you really love this video, not only should you be liking and following, but you should go check out some of our other videos. If you didn't think I was funny, I promise you, watch a couple other ones. Like, I am funny. If you found me funny, then you're going to love my other videos and you should go see them. All right, I will hop off of here and I will talk to you again next week.